Everybody, Steve here from The Varied Life. Today we're going to talk about some fitness stuff. It's been a while. I'm still religiously going to the gym and working out, doing all that stuff. Still going after some gains, doing kind of cutting down a little bit, but not much, because that's kind of the problem that you have. You want to be big, but you want to be cut. But if you get cut, then you lose some size, and it's just this never-ending battle that happens. Excuse me. Now, what we're going to talk about today is what we can see is fitness myths. Free weights are better than machine weight training, or some variant of that. Let's debunk the myth of free weights versus machine weights. And excuse me. And anyway, all this happened a long time ago. So back in the day, this kind of heralded from the times of the original OG, the Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Dave Drapers, the Sergio Olivia, the great bodybuilders of the time, Charles Atlas, and all of those. And it ends up that we came away with this mantra that free weights were better for hypertrophy and strength gains, and especially hypertrophy. It was like, there's machines will never be able to produce the amount of hypertrophy gains that you can get from doing, similar muscle exercises on machines. It's just not going to happen. It's just horrible. How dare you use a machine to try to get size? Unfortunately, that's not true, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It was really interesting. I was going over some comments on some fitness stuff that I had posted, and every once in a while you'll get the naysayers who will poo on you attaining a goal or reaching a goal, or, being who you are and the way that you went about it, and make such kind of crappy claims though that machine weights are terrible. You can't get any size, and it's like, hello. That's the majority of what I use, and we're going to go over that. And I think this stems from people who were caught up in that myth of free weights are better than machine weights. And really what it comes down to, hypertrophy and strength training, the context being non-strength or powerlifting competition type of people. So that kind of narrows down the field to people who go to the gym. Maybe you're kind of like a natural bodybuilder. Maybe you're just into, working out and getting better. That's kind of where I'm at. The only reason I'm working out is for health and longevity, to look good, to stave off sarcopenia. I don't want to be that skinny old man. And weight resistance training, whether I do free weights or machines, resistance is resistance. And so I wanted to go up. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who think that no, free weights will always be better than machine weights. Let me ask you this. When it comes down to resistance training, let's say you lift, let's just say 200 pounds. If you do 200 pounds on a machine, or 200 pounds with free weights, does your body know the difference? Is somehow, dumbbell curls. Let's say you take a free weight or a barbell curl, and you're doing a barbell curl or dumbbell, it doesn't really matter, and it's 75 pounds, and you're doing that. And then you go to a machine and you do 75 pounds. Does your body know the difference between the resistance on a free weight versus the resistance on a machine, and thus your body automatically says, whoa, wait a second, we're using a machine weight here, so we're not going to produce as, we're not going to repair the muscles as much, we're not going to build as more muscle fibers to combat against that resistance that we encountered. No, wait a second now, this is a free weight. So let's ramp up production and let's get better hypertrophy, let's get more strength gains, so on and so forth. Is that really how the body works? No, your body is going to respond to resistance. And resistance training is the resistance against the muscles. And if it's 50 pounds on free weights or 50 pounds on a machine, it's still 50 pounds of resistance, with all things being equal. There are some differences with machines versus free weights and some benefits, actually some awesome benefits that I think are awesome, and we'll go over those. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of these studies, and this isn't an all-inclusive list of studies. I used to have a list, and I can't find it. I think it was on my old computer, and I don't know where the list was. But I had like 15 or 20 different studies showing how machine weights versus free weights, and how really it comes down to they're both great tools. And for the person who's going to the gym and working out, trying to get some size, there's really some important factors that come into play, and it's not free weights versus machine weights, and we'll get into that. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll take a look here on some of the stuff. This is a comment that I said just now. Going over some comments, and machines are not as good as free weights when it comes to hypertrophy or strength gains. Again, we already talked about the context. Resistance is resistance, and what matters most is how you lift. That is a huge thing right there, is how you lift. Lifting to failure, in all of the hypertrophy studies that I've read, whether it's machines or free weights, it's lifting to failure is one of the keys. And then there's also volume. Volume comes into key when you're looking at hypertrophy. Looking at the tempo of the rep, the pauses in the rep, long length partials, contraction of the muscles during the repetition, which, yeah, it seems weird, but some people don't know how to contract the muscles that they're actually exercising. For example, doing bench press, either a machine or with free weights, dumbbells, whatever it is. There's people that will push the weight up, and the majority, the prime mover is their triceps. So they'll use their triceps, but they won't contract their pec muscles as much as they should because they're trying to grow their chest. And so that can be a huge difference, is you can be like stressing all day long and go into failure, but if you're not contracting that muscle group that you're supposed to be working versus this muscle group, which is, yeah, you can minimize the amount of gains that you can get. And then the other thing we talk about is progressive overload, which is increasing the amount of weight that you lift over time, creating more resistance, which creates more micromuscle tears that your body's going to respond and, get bigger, stronger, faster, kind of like the $6 million man thing. Anyway, in this meta-analysis, effects of free weight versus machine-based strength training on maximal strength, hypertrophy, and jump performance, a systematic review and meta-analysis. For those people who don't know, a meta-analysis is a study that looks at multiple other studies. So a meta-analysis actually carries way more weight than an individual study or a couple of studies. You can also have studies that are totally bogus. So just because somebody published a study doesn't mean that that study is the gospel truth. Okay, there's some terrible studies out there, and that have poor testing protocols, that have poor measurement protocols and testing, and so on and so forth. Don't take in all the other variables. There's no control groups. I mean, I could go on and on. But in this one, they came to some interesting conclusions. To summarize the data on the effect of free weight versus machine-based strength training on maximal strength, jump height, and hypertrophy. No differences were detected in the direct comparison of strength, jump, and hypertrophy. Current body of evidence indicates that strength changes are specific to the training modality, and the choice between free weights and machines are down to individual preferences and goals. So in other words, what this study actually shows is that if you're doing free weights, and let's say you're doing bench press, and you set goals and you can attain those goals in that modality or the way that you're doing that exercise with free weights, you can attain those goals and you will get the benefits of hypertrophy and strength and so on and so forth. But if you use machines, you'll get the same thing. So it's just another tool in the toolbox. It comes down to your individual preferences and goals. The free weight group increased strength more when both groups were tested in free weight exercises. Now, some people will read that and say, aha, gotcha. But they don't read the rest of the sentence, which says, and the machine group tended to increase strength in machine exercises more than the free weight group. Okay? So again, it's another tool in the toolbox, whether you use free weights or machine weights. And I think as somebody who is a senior, which is really weird for me to say still, going to be 58, and yeah, this is awesome. Apparently, if you set goals with free weights or machines, you can meet those goals and get similar results in regards to hypertrophy, strength, and whatever you're going for. Another study called The Effects of Training with Free Weights versus Machines on Muscle Mass, Strength, Free Testosterone, and Free Cortisol Levels. This was an interesting one. The training sessions with free weights induced greater increases in free testosterone in men. Now, some people will say, ooh, there it is. You get more testosterone, so automatically they conclude that it is better. However, they put the word however in there, with free weights or machines resulted in similar increases in muscle mass and strength. So here's the interesting thing. When you work out, whether it's free weights or, with machine weights, if you do a hard workout close to failure or to failure with major muscle groups, what you will find out is that your testosterone level will raise. Saying that, there's a greater increase in free testosterone in men with free weights. Some other studies, I'm not so sure, but let's just take this for what it is. But that other studies have concluded that your testosterone levels go back down to pre-workout conditions or levels like an hour or 2 hours afterwards. So even though there's definitely a rise in total testosterone, but even if there's a small rise in free testosterone, which isn't always going to happen, just because you raise your total testosterone doesn't mean you're going to have a corresponding increase in your free testosterone, which is 1 to 2% of your testosterone, which is one of the many variables that helps with strength and hypertrophy, definitely hypertrophy. But anyway, it resulted in similar increases in muscle mass and strength. So really what this shows me is that how you lift is more important and not what you lift. In another study called Free Weight and Machine-Based Training are equally effective on strength and hypertrophy, challenging a traditional myth. This study, the training variables were identical for both modalities. So in other words, lifting with free weights, lifting with machines. They only differed in the use of barbells or machines to execute full squat, bench press, prone bench pull, and shoulder press exercises. So the interesting thing was the cross-sectional area of the muscles evaluated were significantly increased with both modalities. So again, you can get the same results whether you do free weights and or machine weights, but it depends more on how you lift and going to failure and progressive overload. Conclusions, free weight and machine-based modalities are similarly effective to promote strength and hypertrophy without increasing joint discomfort. Now I think that's where personally with machines, you get to a place of machines put you on a path to minimize joint pain, especially as we get older, and that's really important. So when people say that free weights are better than machines, it really isn't. It's just a different way of inducing resistance upon those muscles, and whether you're doing it for strength or performance or hypertrophy, whatever it is, both of those things can be used to reach the goals that you want. The fact that as we get older, there's a huge advantage when it comes to safety. And this is where I think it comes into play with machines and how much better they are than free weights. I've seen a number of older people, and I'm unfortunately including myself into the mix of that, of being an older person, is I've seen a number of old people slamming weights and get injured. A little while ago, I saw a guy who was doing a bench press, and boom, what did he end up doing? Tweaked his shoulder, and had the spotter recover and stuff like that. He didn't decapitate himself, but he seriously tweaked his shoulder, and I haven't seen him back since. So if you need to bail because you tore a muscle or rotator cuff or something, just kind of like you had a muscle spasm or whatever, on a regular bench press, when I go up, I have to bail and throw that away, have it land on my body, my chest, or bring it down, whatever it is. We've all seen the YouTube videos, people who had horrible examples or incidents of failing at a bench press, of going too hard, too heavy, or it's just you're just getting old, and the connective tissue of your muscles and tendons and ligaments and all that, it's just not as good as when we were in our 20s and 30s, to be honest. It's even though this feels like we're still in our 20s and 30s, this stuff is not the same. And so that's why we tend to see greater incidence of injury in older people than we do younger people, at least in that aspect. We'll see a lot of injuries with younger people because we think we're indestructible, and been there, done that. But the fact is, with machines, conversely, when we look at a machine and I'm doing a bench press, say like the hammer strength bench press, of course, you have an individual handle for each side. Both sides have weights on them, and that way I can either go up simultaneously, or I can just do one and do the other, do some type of pause thing, but I can get all of that worked out. And if let's say I just have a tweak in my muscles and it ends up that I have to bail, I can just let go, totally let go. Those handles come back, and I'm not going to get decapitated. So I can bail on a machine bench press, and I have more safety than doing free weights, which is incredible. Now, the other thing that comes into play that a lot of people don't talk about is the fact that you need spotters. And a long time ago when I was lifting, I was doing a bench, I had some heavy weights on, imagine that, look around, try to find a big guy in the gym there wasn't really a big guy. There was a guy that looked pretty good. But as I was benching and I was having a problem getting it up, I got it up on one side, but I couldn't get it up on the other. And so he had to try to get and be my spotter and safely bring that back up. Well, he lifted it up, but as he lifted it up, it went off the rack on the one side. So now now it's off, and now he's basically having to deadlift this, and he had a very hard time doing it. And so I ended up tweaking, I had a little muscle tweak in my back from doing that. And so now, or at least back then, when I was doing bench, I would look for somebody who was the biggest guy in the gym, and unfortunately, the gyms, military bases that I'd been to and stuff like that, the majority of the time, there's not somebody who would be able to lift what I was benching. And so it's like, hey, how much do you deadlift? Well, I don't deadlift. Okay, well, how much can you see what I'm saying? It's very problematic. And a lot of people today don't use spotters. So they will minimize the amount of weight that they use on a bench press for free weights. And now you're left with, okay, you're not working close to failure. You're not really putting in your all. And so you're going to get minimal results in regards to hypertrophy and strength when you lower the weight, because you're not going close to failure or to failure. Whereas using machines, I can load that machine up as much as I want, and I can induce more progressive overload, and I can induce more resistance and failure on that muscle group, with the aspects of safety being involved if I have to bail. And so I get a better workout using machines. Just for the fact that, and the nice thing about it is I don't have to use a spotter. I don't have to have a workout partner. Now, part of that is I used to have workout partners, but after getting out of the military and dealing with PTSD and the gift that keeps on giving, I don't really like people. So when you see me in the gym, it's I'm working out some demons, and that's my time to work all that stuff out and not do bad things. But the fact that I don't need a spotter with machines and I can overload that, I mean, that's gold right there to me. So anyway, when people end up saying that, machines are not as effective as free weights, there's a lot of different variables that come into play. But the studies show that you will get similar results with hypertrophy and strength gains, whether you do free weights or machines. But in regards to the context of where I'm at and many other people are at, like I go to a military gym here in Korea, and the majority of people don't have workout partners. And so they will do their bench press, they will do their incline press, they will do their decline, and they don't have a spotter, so they don't have as much weight on the bar because, yeah, it's a thing. They leave more in the tank than what they should. And I've had a number of people come and ask me and says like, hey, you're pretty big, and how do you do it, and how much do you bench, and blah blah blah. Can you give me some tips? And it's like, I haven't done bench in about 10 years, and they're like, they don't understand. It's like you're big, you've got a lot of weight on those machines, and it's what do you mean you don't do bench press? Yeah, I just don't do bench press. My shoulders don't like it anymore. My back actually doesn't like it. I just get better results with the machine once I found out and came to the realization the increased safety, the more progressive overload I could do, the heavier I could go in regards to strength training for hypertrophy. I can do all the things that I want. I could do endurance training on a machine, whatever it is. I can do all those things on a machine, not need a spotter, and I can get more and better results than if I was doing it alone. And so some of these people, it just didn't compute because they're like, well, machines are I don't understand. Free weights are supposed to be better than machines. And it's like, no, that's the myth that has been perpetrated for years. And yeah, it all depends on how you lift, how you eat, how you recover, progressive overload, all the things that we talked about before. So here's the thing as I want to take a look at. So we did that, again, talking about safety, all of that stuff. And let's take a look at on a machine where I ended up hitting the goal that I wanted to hit, which was 500 pounds. So let's take a look at this.
All right, we've got that. The same thing on the other side, 25 and 45, so that's 500. So we're pushing for 500. This is going to be a new PR on the hammer strength wide grip press. So we'll see what we can do. We're doing a big jump here, so let's see what we can get. Take 3. That ain't bad.
Really good workout today. So yeah, that was kind of huge for me because I ended up, it's a goal that I set for myself that I wanted to, I started at like 200. And then over the years, I moved up. I was able to get 250, 270, adding more weight onto the machines, doing a lot of dips. But again, the majority of my workout is probably about, honestly, I would say about maybe 25, 30% free weights, which is just dumbbells. I don't do barbell stuff. And the remaining, 70, 75% is machines, cable machines, hammer strength machines, things like that. I will do dips, weighted dips at times, but that's my thing. And even then, if you said, if you had your choice between free weights or machines, what would you take? Would you take a gym? Let's say I won a contest and I had the choice of a prize of getting a gym that was just solely machines or solely free weights. I would take the gym with all machines because that I would get more bang for my buck. I would be able to do progressive overload. I would be able to get more resistance on there, and I'd be able to get more gains than I would by myself, without a spotter. Now, if I had a spotter, if I had a couple workout buddies that would help with slow negatives, force negatives, things like that, running the rack, stripping all of that, then that might be a thing. But even then, the safety aspect is something that it's like, yeah, honestly, I would take machines over free weights if I had to make that choice. And based upon the experience that I have and what I ended up doing, yeah, I would always take the machines over free weights. But the good thing is, I don't need to make that absolute choice. I can go down to the gym, and the gym that I go to on the military base here on Korea, Camp Humphreys, I have everything at my disposal. So I use the different tools in the toolboxes, but I stay away from barbell bench. I will probably never do barbell bench again, either flat, incline, or decline. I'll always use the machines for that. I wish I could do some squat stuff, but mostly the reason that I don't do that is because of injuries that I incurred while I was in service. So the machines are able to keep me within the place that I can work that muscle group. I can still get hypertrophy. I can still get strength gains. Yeah, I won't get all the benefits of like doing a squat in the posterior chain where it exercises everything. But then there's different machines that will work all of that, and I still get the gains and meet the goals that I want to meet. So in that aspect, and here's a picture of me. It's kind of like this is time for me to kind of fluff my feathers and be the peacock here. But for being 57 years old, almost 58 years old, the majority of the equipment I use are machines. And it's just the focus is more going to the gym is the easy part. The nutrition is the hard part. But let's just go back to the gym portion and just say, hey, how you lift. And there's a difference between lifting for strength versus lifting for size and hypertrophy. So there's a difference in that. I've had soldiers come up to me and ask me, and they say, how about, I don't understand, they lift more than me in some things, but they don't understand why they're not getting big. And it's like, well, there's a difference between strength training versus hypertrophy training. There's in how you attain those things. You can be strong as an ox, but you don't look big. And some people don't like that. And it all depends on how you lift. And what are you lifting for? Now, a lot of people in the military will lift and go to the gym, but they don't really understand why they're lifting. Are you lifting and are you working out for performance-based results, or are you lifting for strength results, or are you lifting to get big and look good, or a combination of the both? It really depends. And if you're doing strength training and you're wondering why you're not getting big, probably the biggest component of that is going to be your diet, is you're not getting enough protein in, you're not getting enough calories and carbs and so on and so forth. The average person doesn't eat enough protein to begin with. So when I talk with people and they ask me, it's like, how do you get so big? It's like, well, is that what you're looking to do, is trying to get more muscle? And they're, oh yeah, I want to do this. And these are guys in their 20s, late 20s, maybe early 30s. There's some people like that. Run into a couple of older folks in the military. Those are like 36, 37, getting ready to retire, 40, getting ready to retire. But it comes down to nutrition and saying, well, how much do you eat? How much protein do you eat? And then it's like, yeah, it's not even 30% of their daily caloric intake, and it's like, yeah, no wonder you're not gaining muscle. You're not giving the bricks that you need to build that muscle. So in other words, you can have a blueprint, and you can have plans to build a brick house, a mansion, 10 rooms, 12 bathrooms, the jacuzzi, the whole 9 yards, but you've got the plan, and that's what you want to do, but I don't give you the bricks or the mortar, you're not going to be able to build that house. You're not going to be able to build that mansion. And that's what it comes down to. Protein is the building block of hypertrophy and also strength training as well. So not having enough of the resources that your body needs to build for strength or hypertrophy gains is going to be a game changer. So recently there was a study done and by Menno Heiselmans, and he found out that a study that was published showing that 0.73 0.73 grams per pound of body weight is what you need for hypertrophy, and anything over that is really just kind of throwing your money away. And it used to be, the old saying was, 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein will get you the best hypertrophy, even 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. But really, with more testing we see, around that 0.7, 0.73, I would probably just keep it at 0.75 grams per pound of body weight. And that way you can get the most bang for your buck when it comes to hypertrophy. At least that's what this study showed with the 0.73. And that eating more doesn't really get you anything more. So in this case, more is not always better. I think what ends up is you eat more protein than that, and then it just goes to calories, and your body uses that, converts it, and your body's going to use it in some way, shape, or form. But if your body doesn't need it, it's like if I give you, let's say it takes 5,000 bricks to build a house, and I give you 6,000 bricks, you're still going to have some bricks left over, and yeah, you could do something with them, but you've already built the house. So this extra stuff is either going to be stored as fat, it's going to be used and converted into energy, so on and so forth. It's going to go through your system. It's not going to be as beneficial because it's not really needed. See what I'm saying? It's kind of that analogy here. So yeah, it's kind of interesting what we end up seeing with this, the fitness myths going around. And if you have any questions on that, here's my email down here, the thevariedlife@gmail.com. And if you want, you can buy me a coffee at this link, and that'll be in the description box down below. If you like the channel, and if you don't want to buy me a coffee, please like and subscribe to the channel, because I've got these videos, not as many fitness videos, but I also do 3D resin printing. I do miniature printing, doing some more hobby stuff as I'm retired here in Korea. And also we share, the wife and I, we share our experiences of being retired overseas. So we sold everything in the United States, put it in a couple of suitcases, and boom, we retired here in Korea. So there's a lot of different information on the channel, and something that should appeal to somebody. And if you don't like and subscribe to the channel, man, then the YouTube gods will be angry, and that's not a good thing. So at least like and subscribe. With that, people, if you want to email me, that's fine. A lot of the stuff you can find on my channel in regards to fitness, kind of like what I went over here, is on my YouTube channel, The Varied Life. Retired overseas, you just look at the videos and the playlist for that, and I answer a bunch of questions. But I do have a number of people who are in a similar situation of us, asking specific questions about overseas retirement in Korea, or retirement overseas in general. They send me emails, and that's absolutely cool as well. I'll answer those as I can. Many times it's kind of usually the same thing. What's the budget? What's this or that? How did you get your visas and all of that stuff? I'm happy to help out. I don't charge anything for that, by the way, but I will. If you buy me a coffee, I'll appreciate it. So anyway, that's what we got going on for machine weights versus the, free weights, which is better. You have people swearing up and down that machines are better than free weights. Well, actually, don't. I've never heard anybody say machines are better than free weights, but it's always free weights are better than machines for strength and hypertrophy. And studies show that's not really the case. There's a lot of variables that come into play, but you'll get similar results. And the thing with machine weights is there's the added safety features on machines. You can put more weight on, you can get a better workout close to failure or to failure with machines than you can with free weights. At free weights, you can only go so far, and then you'll need a spotter. If I can't get that barbell off of the bench or whatever, you're going to be stuck. And so you're limited because of the safety factor. If I can't get this back on the rack, I'm going to be in trouble. Whereas a machine, I can really push it to the limit and I can get that out there. But if I have to bail, boom, I'm good. I don't have to worry about decapitating myself. And especially, as I said, with older people, I think machines are awesome. And again, the gains that you can get are really good. It just depends on how you lift and the effort you put into it, progressive overload, all of that stuff, how you lift. And yeah, it's a myth that free weights are better than machines. Yeah, I just can't buy it. I think they're both great tools that we can have in our toolbox, but as we get older, especially if you have some injuries, machines are awesome. So, am I saying that everybody should do machines? No, there's old fogies out there like me who are slamming weights and doing squats with 300, 400, 500 pounds, and that's absolutely, and they never touch a machine in their life. That's absolutely awesome. But that's also anecdotal evidence, and it's not. You know what I'm saying? It's not for everybody. Just because somebody experiences, well, I've never used machines in my life, and look at me. Oh, that doesn't really mean anything. It just means great, good job. It doesn't mean that improves that free weights are better than machines. That evidence is just personal, and you have a lot of biasness. When we start getting into studies and meta-analysis of these things, then we see over a large scale of people, whether it's men, women, young, old, experienced lifters, new lifters, we can find the things that will actually work and help us in our journey when it comes to health and fitness. So whether hypertrophy, strength, or whatever. So anyway, that's what we got going on. And here's the other thing I found out. One last thing is, I'll post stuff on my journey, whatever it is. But it's interesting how on Facebook and social media, no matter what you put down, somebody will always try to poo on you. And recently I had a gentleman who was like, oh, that's not impressive. And it's like, because I, pushed 430 pounds on a machine. And it's like, yeah, I don't do it to impress you. That my existence isn't dependent upon you impressing you. You don't pay my bills. You're not my coach. You're not my dad. You're not some authority figure. I do this for me. I set goals and I attain them. And yeah, it's like, yeah, you don't think pushing 500 pounds on a machine is impressive? I don't really care. It's I do it for me. And, it's always funny. Somebody else pointed out, it was kind of funny, this guy said about this person who commented and threw poo, throwing shade on, some accomplishments that I did, is like, isn't it funny how it's the people that look like they've never lifted that make such comments? Somebody who's got the dad bod with the, they have the one ab. They got the padded stomach. It's just kind of a round, and it's there's no definition. There's no muscle mass. There's they look all right. I'm not saying they're obese, but more often than not, it's the people that haven't looked at studies, that haven't looked at meta-analysis, who haven't researched to find the truth and testing out these myths and what works and what doesn't. And, it's those people. And thankfully, there's only a few of those people around that will leave comments like that. And it's like, if it's not impressive, then why did you even leave the comment to begin with? It impressed upon you enough to leave the comment. So apparently you were impressed a teeny little bit. And here's the thing. If it's not impressive and you actually have some constructive criticism as to saying, well, hey, here's what you need to do, and here's what you should do, and here's this little tweak, and if you do a long length partial and blah, 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 putting actual useful information to help me attain my goals, then that would be another matter. But when people just throw shade, and people will, on you attaining your goals, screw them. Who cares? I don't need your validation. Yeah, I post the stuff and I come to a place of where I relish in my victories and the goals that I've attained. Whether it's something you attained or not, or you don't even attempt to try, or if you've done that and done 10 times better than me, it still doesn't take away the fact that I set a goal and I attained it and I feel good about it and I will share it with other people. Likewise, if you share something in a goal that you attained, oh, wait a second, if we use your same logic, then, oh, that's not impressive. That's called being a dick. It really is. Not everybody's the same. And it just, it makes me wonder when you see people do that to other people that are new into the world of health and fitness or hobby or whatever it is that they do. And it's like, oh, I did that a long time ago. That's not impressive. There's a time when you were new and you just started out on your journey and you wanted people to congratulate you. Yeah, it might not be impressive. It might not be a huge jump. It might be something as innocuous as, hey, I finally did 30 minutes on the treadmill. That's awesome. But you'll always have those one or two dicks that will be end up, 30 minutes is nothing. You need to do like 2 or 3 hours. And that's let me drink my tea with my pinky up because I'm a dick. Yeah, that doesn't help anybody. And the fact that grown-ass men who claim to be mature, who claim to be civil and adult-ish, really are not, have wives and kids and, they got all these pictures of their wives and their kids and bringing up their kids. Oh, look, we're having so much fun with our kiddies and, raising them the right way. You're definitely not being a good example in this area when it comes to reinforcing and congratulating those people who met their goals. Are you that same way with your children? Look, Daddy, I did a picture. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about because you can't even stay in the lines. I mean, that's basically what you're saying. You're shitting on an accomplishment by somebody who is new or just beginning their journey, and would you do that to your kids? No, that's not impressive, little Johnny, little Jane. You can't even color right. Impress me when you can make it look like a Rembrandt. Wow. Yeah, that's what it looks like when you do that. When you say that to other people and say, oh, that's not impressive. It makes me, would you do that to your own kids whom you're trying to supposedly raise to be good people, mature and civil, responsible adults? But then you turn around and you say things like this to other people? Hypocritical much? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, you can tell this gets me a little riled. And I swear to God, I hope this guy doesn't do that with his kids. But if you don't do that with your kids and you do it with other people, there's a disconnect in your morality. There's a disconnect in your maturity and civility of how you carry yourself as an individual. And it just shows that you suck. Because you should relish in the victories of your children or the people around you. That's what's impressive. So, anyway. Woosah, woosah. Latte makes everything better. Okay, so anyway, there you go. Get a little bit of drama on the social media, and of course being retired. Besides doing the other things that I do, this is part of the fun that I get. Sometimes you got to poke the bear and have some fun and see people just kind of go off the rails. But to kind of show a mirror up to somebody, and the thing is, it's tough love. I have been the recipient of tough love when I was younger, numerous times. And so that's how you grow and say, yeah, I guess I was being a dick. I need to change that because I don't want to be a dick. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. But if you can't differentiate and see that you are being a dick and you're claiming that you're a good person, a great person, you're raising your children to be responsible adults and so on and so forth, yeah, you need to look in the mirror a little bit harder and longer and to be the same person with your kids as you do with other people. And I swear, I hope that gentleman doesn't treat his kids the way he treats people on social media, because that would just be, I would call DHS in a heartbeat. So, anyway, yeah, like, subscribe. Apparently, the guy who made the comments is not going to like and subscribe, but you can take his place and do that. So, we will send you or see you on the next video. I got to finish my latte, and I'm going to get me some food because I'm getting hangry now. So, if I go any further, it will just be all downhill from here. So, with that being said, we'll see you on the next video. Peace.